Hey everyone, Dockwell here, and welcome to another one of my Dota 2 hero guides. Today we're going to be taking a look at Juggernaut. So Juggernaut is a carry hero, and he's kind of the quintessential carry hero in that he's kind of the face of Dota, if you want to say. He's front and center in a lot of promotional materials. He's one of the most popular heroes. Maybe the only hero to rival him is like Pudge or something like that. But he's not just the face of Dota and a quintessential carry hero because he's popular. He's also that because his strengths are that he's good at everything, but he's not the best at anything. He doesn't have a specific little niche that he's like, oh, he's the best at this, pick him for this specific thing. But he is good at pretty much everything because he's a pretty good laner. He, has a great attack animation, does good damage, has a skill that can kill early on. He has a good sustain in lane too once you get a couple levels. He can farm really quickly because he usually buys a farming item. He's not very slow. He's not like the fastest hero or anything, but he's not slow. And then he has a great attack animation, so he clears waves quickly. And then his spin ability, which does magic damage, can clear waves as well. He can split push when it comes into like the mid game and such. As long as the enemy team doesn't have a BKB piercing stun, he can just spin TP if he ever feels threatened, and it's very rare that you can kill him through that spin TP. And so he can play really aggressive on the map and split push really, really well. He can also take towers and Roche pretty much solo because of his heal ability. But that heal ability kind of makes him weird because a lot of carries don't have an ability that like heals. It's kind of like a team ability. They might have built-in lifesteal, which is good, but this ability isn't lifesteal. It's actually almost like better in some ways because it heals more and it can heal your team, but it can also basically be shut down very quickly. It's not something innate. It's not a passive. It's an active ability. It has a cooldown, those kinds of things. So it's a little bit weird, and that's sort of what makes Jugg not the best at anything in some ways because he has an ability that's more of like a team ability. It's more of a heal support ability, and so he has sort of one of those skill slots wasted on something that doesn't allow him to like just carry the game. And because of that, it makes him very like independent. He can do everything on his own, but at the same time, he's not the best at anything. And so that's how you can think about Jugg, is that at lower MMRs, even middle of the road MMRs, even MMRs that are higher than mine, Jugg can be the perfect carry because you can get everything you want out of the game. You don't have to rely on your team as much because you're very, very independent. But then at the higher levels, sometimes he's not that good because, like I said, he doesn't have that niche that he's really good at. There might be another hero in the game that has that specific thing that you want, and it's better than Jugg. And so that's why this hero can be great to pick and learn, carry. It's great to pick this hero early on when you're either new or even your lower MMR. You can just like spam this hero to learn the carry role. It's great for that, but it's not the best at anything, so at higher MMRs it might fall off a little bit. But sometimes there's patches where Jugg is just really good even at higher MMRs. So that is pretty much Jugg. That's how you should think about Jugg. Good at everything, but not the best at anything. Very independent, doesn't rely on his team as much, but can kind of fall off. May not be the best carry, the best late game carry. May not have the specific niche. I mean, really, his two biggest niches are the spin TP with the BKB, and the fact that his ult can do a lot of damage while he's invulnerable. But those are pretty much his only two really big niches. And other than that, like I said, good at everything, independent, but not the best at anything. So now that we understand that, we can take a look at his abilities and what allows him to carry the game and be that all-around hero. So now that we understand Jugg in general, we can take a look at his abilities and see what he does and how he can be that kind of middle-of-the-road quintessential carry hero. So first, we'll take a look at Blade Fury. This is his BKB spell, essentially. So you'll click this, and you just spin. And anyone caught within that AoE takes magic damage. So we just use it on the dummy target there. We can get free spells and use it here on this axe. And we can see it does a good amount of damage when it's maxed out. And so that's what he can be really good at in lane. He can do a lot of damage, and obviously he's invulnerable to stuns and anything like that. He's basically magic immune, like a BKB here. While he's doing that. Now, the one thing to keep in mind, though, is he does not attack heroes while doing that. So, I mean, he can do the attack animation, like you can attack, but it doesn't do any damage to heroes. So, we can see I'm attacking, but I'm not doing any damage through that spin. Now, there is, right now, his shard actually allows him to do an attack every so often through this, which is pretty good. But one thing to keep in mind is it doesn't do damage to heroes or creeps, but it does do damage to towers because the spin itself can't do damage to the towers. So he actually can spin, walk up to a tower, and hit it, and that's actually something to keep in mind, because if you're having trouble going high ground, you can actually just spin, like walk up, spin, hit the tower a few times, and then back off, and before the spin is up, and there's almost nothing the enemy can do. Now, if the enemy does have a BKB piercing stun, however, that can be a problem for Jugg, because, you know, you can spin, you can do whatever, but they call, and there you see that pierces BKB, so it pierces Jugg's spin. So just keep that in mind. In a game where there's no BKB piercing stuns, Jugg is even better because he, like I said, he can split push, he can run down a lane and then just do this, and then TP out. And there's almost nothing the enemy can do because of that. So yeah, that's pretty much spin, or Blade Fury, but everyone kind of just calls it spin. But yeah, that's Blade Fury for you. It's a pretty diverse spell there with all the things that you need to consider when doing it, or when using it, or when to use it. Just keep in mind also when you use this, it purges any debuffs. It's something that if you use it too early in a team fight or something like that, or if the enemy sees you use it, you are vulnerable. So this is kind of one of these spells that you need to hold on to. It's like pretty much Rage on Lifesteal or something like that. Just knowing when to cast this is very important, especially later in the game when it's not as much about the magic damage. It's more about, like, you know, the BKB part of it. So that is Blade Fury. Now we look at Healing Ward. Healing Ward is the heal spell, the AoE heal spell that I was talking about. It's kind of like a team spell. You basically cast it on the ground, and then you can control it. And it lasts for a certain amount of time, and it heals everyone in that AoE. And it honestly heals for a lot. It's a very, very good heal. It, like, basically if you have no health and you put this thing on the ground at max level in, like, honestly, like 5-6 seconds, you'll be like full health. Like, it's crazy because, I mean, it's healing for 5%, so every second, which is a ton. So it's like a percentage-based heal. It's not a flat heal. It's really, really good. But the thing about it is there is a pretty long cooldown. It's 60 seconds and one attack from the enemy and it's dead. So it's like kind of a vulnerable spell. You need to be able to, you know, micro this Healing Ward during a team fight. You know, maybe just have your guy attack, use stuff like that, and then micro this so they can't just right-click it once easily. It's very important to have good micro with your Healing Ward if you want to sustain, if you want to, like, make Juggernaut get pushed to his limits, really use him in the best way possible. But like I said, this allows him to sustain, allows him to take Roshan towers and other things like that, because you can just, like, place this behind him and then just hit the tower, and it's very hard for the enemy to do anything unless they have, like, a ranged hero that can really hit that. So that is Healing Ward. Next we'll look at Blade Dance. This is pretty much just a crit. That's all you really need to think about. It's a 35% chance, does 180% crit. It's a pretty good crit. It's honestly one of the better crits in the game, I would say, because it's a pretty decent chance and it does a lot of damage. So that's pretty much all it does. You just level it up. It has a better chance, but good damage either way. And it's kind of one of those things that allows Jugg to be really good and not buy, like, strictly damage items. He can buy, like, Battle Fury, Manta, he can buy an Ags, he can buy Scotty. He doesn't necessarily need to go, like, Daedalus. He doesn't need to go super high damage items all the time because he does have that built-in damage. So it's kind of the biggest thing that allows him to carry and be good, is the fact that this Blade Dance ability it kind of makes up for the fact that there's a Healing Ward ability, like an AoE team heal spell. So that's Blade Dance, pretty simple. And then last we'll look at his Omni Slash. So Omni Slash is his ultimate, obviously, and what it does is you just cast it on, you can cast it on creeps, but you probably don't want to. You cast it on the enemy, and you basically become invulnerable, and you just, like, bounce around, and I'll just show you what that looks like here. So you can see each person that you're attacking, and you bounce to different targets randomly within the range. And so if you cast it in a team fight, it'll bounce around. And so it will bounce to creeps, and so that's why you need to consider whether there are creeps around when you use the ability, because you don't want to be wasting some of those jumps, that valuable time of the Omni Slash, doing damage to creeps. You pretty much only want to be using it when you can do damage to heroes. And so earlier on, you'll probably only want to use it, like, on one hero, and so that it doesn't jump, so that it does a ton of damage to that single hero. But then later on, if you get a lot of items, and there's like 3, 4, maybe even 5, depending on how farmed you are and how ahead you are, heroes in a group, you can just use this Omni Slash on them, and it'll do an insane amount of damage. It might even kill the entire team. I've played, unfortunately against, I've done a lot of damage with him, but one time I played against a Jugg who had Battle Fury, and we were all kind of squishy, and we killed everybody except for the Jugg, and all 5 of us stood there to share the damage, share the load of the damage, and we literally all died. He got a rampage because he cleaved through everyone, and he did a ton of damage to everybody. It was kind of a squishy lineup. It was pretty funny. We couldn't help but like laugh and be like, wow, that was insane. So he can do a ton of damage with this because he gets bonus attack speed, he's invulnerable, and he can just do a ton of damage. The crit still goes through, those kinds of things. Now, the last thing I will say is I will talk about his Ags. I briefly mentioned his Shard, but Ags is key to this hero because it basically gives him another Omni Slash, but instead of being on a really long cooldown like this one is, 140 seconds, that's pretty long. This one is on a 20-second cooldown, and it doesn't last nearly as long, so if we just cast it here, you see, it only lasts a little bit. If we have more attack speed, let's just like get a ton of attack speed here. You see how that those attacks, it works with attack speed, but like it can do a lot of damage, and it doesn't last very long. But like if there's a squishy support and you go up and you have like a good amount of items, you'll cast this on them and you'll kill them. Like AA's pretty popular right now, and I know that when I've played Jugg against AA, Ancient Apparition, I'll just go in, cast this on him, and he'll just like insta die. So just keep that in mind, and it's obviously a 20-second cooldown. So instead of like blowing your Omni on something where you do a lot of damage, you can just use your Swift Slash, and it's not something where you're going to get kited because you can only, you're trying to just walk up and hit them, but they're trying to kite you. Well, you can just use your Swift Slash, and then they're not going to kite you anymore, and you do a ton of damage, 20-second cooldown. It's one of his best spells. It's honestly one of the best things. A lot of times these days, I know Battle Fury's not the best, but I don't care. I'll go Battle Fury, Manta, and then straight into Ags, and that's just like really good. It does a ton of damage, and it makes the hero really, really good. So those are his abilities. That is Swift Slash. Like I said, that's a pretty good description of how his abilities and how you can see how he's good. He can do a ton of damage, but he's not like the best carry. He's not the carry that does the most late game and those kinds of things, and he has this weird heal spell and all this stuff, but he can be really good with all these different things that he's doing, especially with his BKB-like abilities. So those are Jugg's abilities, and now let's take a look at how to use them in a game. So now we're going to jump into a replay here of Eurus or Paparazzi playing Jugg, and I think he's rank 1 in China, so I don't know if he's the highest MMR right now overall. He might just be in the entire world, but at least he's top ranked in China right now. He's number 1, so we can take a look at his high-level play, and actually he saves his skill point till the lane, because I think what he wants to think is, am I going to take Harass from this Pudge, and then I want to skill Healing Ward, or is my Winter Wyvern going to come up and we can potentially get a level 1 kill on this Pudge? And so what he sees is that the 4 and 5 position are kind of battling in the back there. So he says, okay, well, since that's happening and I'm not going to probably get a kill on this Pudge, I'm just going to go Healing Ward level 1 so that I can out-sustain him. That's not a bad idea. I think most of the time you should follow the guide and just go spin level 1. But I did want to comment on the fact that I've seen him go Healing Ward level 1 multiple times, but like right here he may have been able to get a kill with that level 1 spin. I'm not sure, but also keep in mind that he does go heal because it's a Pudge and 2 melee offlaners, so he's not really gonna maybe do a lot of damage with level 1 spin because they're probably gonna have high HP. So that's part of it. Now I'm just gonna fast forward a little bit here and just speed up the laning stage, because generally he kind of just plays this relatively normally. He has spin. Sometimes the threat of spin is better than actually using it, because you just kind of want to click other heroes down and say, okay, well, we're going to click each other, but now I'm going to, threaten spin. I have spin available, so if if we trade and you're low, I'm going to use spin and you might just die. And so that's kind of the key to spin sometimes. It's not always just using it and just blowing, your mana, but threatening it more than actually using it. So I just wanted to say that too. But normally, I mean, he's acting like a carry. He's not being overly aggressive. He's not just, he's level 2 spin now, but he's not just like looking to automatically use spin all the time. He's using some of his mana, but mainly he's saving mana for Healing Ward in case he needs it, and he's not just looking to use spin unless he can secure that kill. And so, mostly, like other carries, he's just looking to get farm. And I think that's something that some lower MMR players, when they have someone like Jugg, someone that can be aggressive, I think they occasionally mess up, and now we like glitch the replay here, but they occasionally mess up and just are too aggressive and aren't focusing on last hits. But we can see, and that's why I wanted to rewind, that when it is available for him to be aggressive, he is aggressive, and when he's able to use that spin to secure a kill, he does. Now, we'll see that the Pudge does TP out, but we'll just fast forward here to when it happens. Usually you're going to want to use your spin when the enemy, or when your 5 position uses his abilities on the hero. So here we see the Winter Wyvern comes in, uses both abilities, the Pudge is slowed. If the Pudge does not TP there, he's going to die, and that's when you want to use your spin. You don't just want to use it like yourself. Usually you want to use it in combo with your 5 position, because your 5 position is probably going to have a stun or a slow or something that is going to allow you to secure the kill. Thankfully for Pudge, he's a pretty high level player, understood that he needed to TP and just TP'd back to the tower and was able to save himself. But probably in your games, they won't be that smart and you'll get that kill. So then after that, we just see he's farming up, doing normal farming stuff. And actually, I just kind of wanted to fast forward until, because everything is sort of normal, just getting last hits. Yeah, until he gets his phase boots. So we'll just fast forward, we'll rewind here. As soon as he gets his phase boots, he knows that now there's no slow or no speed that the enemy team is going to have that will allow them to escape, so he immediately gets aggressive with these phase boots to try to secure this kill. He's actually, like, has to chase pretty far because she's, you know, uses her skills pretty wisely, and he kind of wanted to make sure that she wouldn't get away. But either way, they are able to secure the kill with those phase boots. And now, the Pudge is level 6, but with the combination of the Winter Wyvern and him trying to dodge the hook, he is able to get that kill, which is pretty good. And he's going to get level 6 soon. Now, this is what I wanted to comment on as well. If you're going Battle Fury, which I think is still pretty good, Voidstone, it's probably one of the only heroes that you actually go Voidstone first, because you can do this. You can spin a lot more with this Voidstone and the mana regen to clear camps, and you also use that mana to get healing from your healing ward, which is probably better than the overall healing. And now this is another thing that I wanted to mention as well, is look at how now that he has, you know, he's level 6, it's 7 minutes, he has this mana regen. He's going to actually pull the creeps over so that he can use his spin even more efficiently to get more damage on as many creeps as possible and get last hits easy. When you're, like, early on in the game, yes, Jugg has a good, you know, attack animation, pretty good damage, but this spin is going to do so much damage to creeps and clear creeps so fast. So we just see he uses it constantly, and he's able to do that with this Voidstone. Now, if you were going something like a Maelstrom build, you actually could just fly yourself Clarities, so you're able to do this. But you see, he's able to use Blade Fury and Healing Ward to get himself back up, so it's like a combination. This Voidstone is not just mana, it's also health on this hero because of the way it works with Healing Ward. So, and you'll just see him use his spin constantly to farm, because it's just so good for clearing waves quickly. He uses it there to get back to lane, but now he sees 2 heroes, so he kind of just goes away because he knows, you know, he doesn't really want to contest. And that's another thing too that I wanted to comment on in this laning stage as well, is that he is level 6, but this takes a ton of mana. It takes like 2/3 of his mana pool, and he honestly wants to be using that for Blade Fury and then maybe even Healing Ward as he can. So, yes, when you get this Omni Slash, it is good to use it as soon as you get it, or at least threaten, but level 1 Omni Slash isn't always the best, and sometimes the mana itself, you won't have the mana, because sometimes just farming itself is going to be quicker, or better to use that mana for that than to secure a kill. Plus, if there's 2 heroes like they saw down there with the Pudge and the, oh, why do I always forget this hero's name? I mean, she's new, but I always forget this hero's name. Dawnbreaker, yes, whatever. With those 2 being down there and him being solo, he knew he wasn't going to get a kill. And now he was actually able to save his Omni Slash for this team fight as they rotated. So we'll see, they ended up getting a kill, and thankfully for him, the Winter Wyvern is a god, gets a great curse, and then he's able to get his Omni Slash off after the curse is over, and they get almost a full team wipe, except obviously PL is farming in the jungle. So that's pretty much the laning stage, and the transition to the laning stage is that, you know, you can be aggressive. You're using your mana for both spin and Healing Ward. That's kind of what you want to be doing, and then saving your ult for like a pretty secured kill, maybe a team fight, maybe a solo kill on somebody, and those kinds of things early on. You don't necessarily always need to be using Blade Fury or Omni Slash aggressively. It's almost sometimes better to have a threat of that than it is actually to use it occasionally. And that's pretty much Juggernaut's laning stage. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. There's not too much to talk about there, just some odd things about, you know, healing ward first, or, you know, being aggressive when you get your phase boots because you know you can outrun people. And then once you transition into that, you know, max Blade Fury, just using it constantly to secure creeps and farm the jungle and farm lane, and then using Omni Slash when available to make sure you're securing those kills. And that's pretty much Jugg's early game to mid game, or laning stage to early game. And then once you transition to this mid game point, you basically, when you don't have Omni Slash, you farm. And when you do have Omni Slash, you look to farm a little bit more aggressively and get those kills. So we'll see that basically there's not too much to see. He just clears all these camps here and just looks to farm while he doesn't have Omni Slash up. And we can fast forward a little bit here as he clears these camps. And he gets lucky with that DD and clears that whole ancient camp. Now, by the time he's done that, and he clears this wave, he has his Battle Fury, and he has Omni Slash back up. So you'll see how him and his support look to get aggressive now. Because, like, normally, if he didn't have Omni Slash, he probably wouldn't even run over here, because, you know, what's kind of the point? But now he has Omni Slash, he has Spin available. He's definitely going to be able to look to be aggressive, but, you know, the whole team pretty much, like, TP's in here to try to defend, so he gets his spin off, runs away. They also have Moonlight Shadow, but you'll see he's still looking to be aggressive because he knows he has Omni Slash. And this is kind of the key that I wanted to show you here as well, is early on, don't be scared to do this. Even 15 to maybe 20 minutes in the game, it's okay to use your Omni Slash for a single kill early on, because that team fight that we saw earlier where he got a ton of damage on 3 heroes, that's honestly not really going to happen until later in the game. So early on, you know, first 20 minutes, you can look to use that Omni Slash for a single kill on a single guy. That's fine. So I wanted to point that out. But like I said, you know, we looked at the laning stage, and now at the transition to the mid game, when you don't have Omni Slash up, just farm. When you have it up, look to be a little bit more aggressive. And that's kind of the simplest play, the simplest idea for Jugg in the mid game. So the next thing I want to show you is only a few minutes later, actually. And he's pretty much just been farming this time. So he cleared basically all of the top area. And he knows his Omni Slash is coming off cooldown in 15 seconds here. So he rotates bottom because he knows he can get involved, help out, and the Omni Slash is going to be up in about 10 seconds. So he goes in here. He looks to get a kill as soon as possible with his Mirana and his Kunkka and the ult. And he, you know, they kill Pudge here, but then he sees, okay, there's 2 ults that have been blown. Big ults. The DP ults and the Panda ult. So what he does is he immediately spin TPs out. He says, I'm out of here. I have Omni Slash, but, you know, they blew 2 ults. They're stronger right now. I'm getting out of the fight. And we can see that that's the power of Jugg with that spin TP, is that as soon as he spin TPs, there's literally nothing the enemy can do. Other carry heroes, you know, you might want to look to rotate there, but then, you know, you might get caught out because they just used big ultimates. Jugg, no, because there's no spin cancel, there's no BKB piercing stun. Well, that's just too bad. Jugg is out. As long as he didn't use spin aggressively, which he didn't need to, now he's out. And he's safe. And that's pretty much how you want to be thinking of Jugg. And so that's a great example, though, of also why you don't want to use spin too early, because they didn't need spin there to secure that kill on Pudge. I think that's key. So he didn't use it, and then he was able to use it to get out. So that's just one thing that I wanted to mention and wanted to show, because it's so key that you need to rotate when your ult is almost up, but also don't use your spin, like, immediately. Don't just, like, panic use your spin. You need to save your spin sometimes when you don't necessarily need to use it. I think that's a great example. Now, unfortunately, he didn't check, and Pudge has a Ghost Scepter. So that is a counter to Jugg. Ghost Scepter is a good item against Jugg, so he just kind of wastes his ultimate. But you did see how he was looking to be aggressive once it was up. He went back to farming, his team respawned from that fight, and he immediately went mid lane to look to be aggressive at a dangerous part on the map because he knew he had his ultimate. Then, as soon as his ultimate's off, the fight is over, right back to the jungle, right back to farming. And that's honestly Jugg. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, how you want to play. So this last clip I want to show you actually starts at 18 minutes, and it goes till the end of the game. And the reason why I want to show you this, and I'll fast forward, don't worry, it's not going to be a super long clip, is just because it just, like, shows exactly how to play Jugg, but also how kind of simple Jugg can be because of his kit. So we see that his allies get a kill on the Brewmaster. He split pushes one last wave, and because they get that kill, and he's dead for about 30 seconds, they immediately go Roche. And their team isn't like the best Roche lineup. I mean, they have Mirana to stun from far away. They have Gush, which does minus armor, so that's not bad. But, you know, Jugg walks in here, does a ton of damage, which is good. Right-click damage is always good against Roche here. And that healing ward just makes it so their entire team is full health the whole time. Like the Tide actually wasn't even in the healing ward distance, but they just are able to take it quickly because that healing ward is just there, and they know that their whole team is going to be full health. That Brewmaster died, and he was up, but he wasn't up in time for them to take it. And then from here, his Omni Slash is almost up, and we can just watch. We can just fast forward at like 4 times speed. Here, I'll go to play Hero Chase. Yeah, I'll go to Hero Chase, and we'll just kind of watch him fast forward so it's not like crazy. You don't see his camera going all over the place. But he basically just uses to looks to split push, uses Omni Slash, be very aggressive because he has that Aegis. And then they just 5-man, honestly. I mean, you would think the enemy team, they have a PL, they have decent late game, but they just look to take all these towers. They are very aggressive. He uses Omni Slash, but he has Aegis, so he does not care. So he's farming extremely aggressively. They took top tower. Now he goes to push mid. He's being a little bit careful because he doesn't have Omni Slash. They smoke up. Here his team smokes up, and then his team actually goes and gets a pick off, which is good. But now Omni Slash is up, and he's able to use it to secure a kill on the DP, and they're just pushing their advantage constantly. He still has the Aegis, being aggressive again with his spin, and now his Ag Shard, taking this tower. You know, being aggressive, farming on the map, using that Aegis to really get a lot of map control. But he's not doing anything super special. He's just playing aggressively and using his spin when he can, using his Omni Slash when he can to get kills. You see, he doesn't even have his Omni Slash yet, but they know, he still knows he's pretty strong. He still knows it's very hard for the enemy team to deal with him. So, again, just being very aggressive, playing as a team, playing as 5. His Omni is up now. Like, his team is, as long as his team is behind him and they don't, like, stun him full to 0, they get in there with a Ravage, kill the enemy DP, and now the game is honestly just like over because they're able to take these racks. They're snowballing the game. He has his Omni Slash, and it's threatening the enemy team, so there's not much they can do. Like, if he ever uses it, he's just going to kill a couple heroes. Usually, PL is really, really good at just, like, poking people down, but because he has the healing ward, his whole team is basically, like, full health the whole time. The enemy team finally gets some kind of advantage to try to push them back, but they have Winter's Curse, and then he just honestly Omni Slashes everybody, and they all die, and then they get the kill on the PL, and the game is literally just over. The game is over. Like, there's no time left in the game. They have a 17k advantage, and they just push the advantage. And the reason why I wanted to show you that in kind of fast speed is because, really, if we look back, let's go all the way back to, like, that was 10 minutes too far back. 17 minutes around when we kind of left him before, when he's farming here, 18 minutes. There's only a 4k lead. Now, they are kind of crushing in the kills. They're doing really well. Obviously, he's rank 1, so he's pretty good. Yeah. But they basically turn this single Roche into the entire game. And they do that by just mainly because Paparazzi here pushes his advantage extremely, extremely well. He pushes his hero well, and he doesn't do anything all that special. There's really nothing here that I would say is like, oh, that's an amazing, you know, it's Jugg. He's not doing any amazing play. He's not doing any crazy skillful plays on Ember. He's not, like, pulling crazy things off, like, you know, high skill plays with other heroes. He's just kind of playing aggressive, using his skills and his timings correctly, and it's, like, beautiful to watch. And it's why Jugg can be such a good hero, and it's not very hard to play because, you know, you have your spin, you have your ults, and just use them kind of effectively. Now, it's hard to know exactly when to use them. That's the skill, but, like, it's pretty simple. Here, the curse is over. I'm going to ult the whole team because it's up. Like, it's pretty simple, you know. There, you saw different times he felt vulnerable. He used spin, and he got out. It's kind of simple. Now, they're pushing. Everyone's kind of low. Use your healing ward, get everyone up, and now they just kind of push to end the game. And I know that it's not, like, the best to like, unless I'm saying very, very specific things about how to play Jugg, but this is how you play Jugg. I've won, like, a ton of games. Actually, Jugg is one of my most successful heroes, even though I don't, like, love playing him, because he can kind of be boring, because you basically farm when your ult's off cooldown. When your ult's, you know, up, you look to be aggressive, and then if you feel in danger, you use spin and you get out. And then if you feel like you can be really aggressive and your team's behind you, you can use spin to go in. And that's kind of how to play the hero. And then when you go high ground, you guys need healed, just use your healing ward, and then you guys can 5-man hit the tower. It's pretty simple, honestly. It's not, there's really not that much complicated to say about Jugg. There's not like crazy plays that you can make. It's just learning how to play carry in the most standard, basic way. Going in and out, using your ult when you can, when it's off cooldown, using your spin aggressively when your team's behind you, when you feel safe, and using it defensively when you don't. And that's really Jugg. That is him in a nutshell. That is the quintessential Jugg replay, and it's the perfect replay because it's so simple. It doesn't seem like there's anything crazy that I'm telling you, because there really isn't anything crazy. There's nothing super special you need to do. Just learn when to use the ult and when to use spin and how to be aggressive with those things, when to farm and when not to, and then you kind of can just play Jugg. And that's why I think it's one of the perfect heroes to learn carry with, because it's pretty straightforward when to use his spells, and honestly, you just need to learn to farm and how to play the map, and that's the most important thing, because how he plays the map is really why he's so good in that game. It's not necessarily about the skill usage as much. It's just how to play the map, knowing when to cast the abilities, and then how to play around those abilities. And so that is my Jugg guide. As always, guys, I hope this was informative for you and helps you play better in the future. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them in the comments below. If you want me to take a look at one of your replays, then just let me know. Give me the replay number below, and I'd be happy to take a look at your game and give you some advice, regardless of the hero or the position. So, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.